stealth jihad, as some people have termed it, hides behind a moderate image, which the Muslim Brotherhood also tries to use to fool people. So creeping Sharia, cultural jihad, some people will call it, is making very much progress in Europe and now in the United States as well. And again, going back to the violent attacks like 9/11, like the attacks in Madrid, in London, and constantly, of course, in Israel, have had a ripple effect. And what's that effect? By putting people into a condition of terror, fearful of what could happen, more of this will come your way, they begin to react and change their behavior to kowtow, to appease the enemy. Oh, well, just what is it you want? What is it you want? We can meet halfway. We can find an accommodation with you. Just don't blow anything up. That is adaptation to the terror campaign, and what it does is leads to societies that are permitting Sharia, Islamic law, to enter into the society. Dhimitude, the word dhimmi. Anybody know that word? It comes from the section of Islamic law that is called the Ahl al-Dhimma, people of the dhimmi people, maybe I should say. The dhimmi people was what that means. And it is those people, particularly Christians and Jews, who were overrun as the armies of Muhammad, the Islamic armies, overran the Middle East back in the early years of Islam, when the army swept across what was primarily a Christian and Jewish region of the world. The Middle East, remember, at one time was nearly entirely Christian and Jewish. But as the army swept across and they conquered these people, subjugated them, they gave them the choice. They said, well, you are people of the book, you have revealed scripture, you Jews and you who are Christians, and so no, you don't have to convert like the pagans in the Arabian Peninsula were given two choices, convert or die. But for the Jews and the Christians, they said, no, you don't have to convert or die. You can keep your religion, but you have to submit to our law. You have to submit to Sharia. And that's the objective. And so those who submitted were called the people, the dhimmi people. And that's where the word comes from. They had to obey a whole long list of regulations. It had to do with what kind of clothing they wore, what colors of clothing. It had to do with not being able to ride a nice horse. You had to ride a donkey. It means getting out of the way in the road as you're passing by and a Muslim comes. You have to go in the muddy part. Well, you let the Muslims pass in the nice dry part. It has to do with not ringing church bells if you are Christians, not blowing the shofar if you are Jewish during your religious celebrations. So that is what the laws, and in particular you had to pay a tax. Shouldn't forget this, the jizya, the special poll tax, annual tax levied on all those who refused to convert, who retained their faith, Jewish, Christian, annual tax. And if you submitted and if you actually obeyed all these regulations and paid your tax on time, you were actually protected. You were disarmed because you weren't going to be allowed to hold weapons anymore under Muslim rule, but you would then be protected by the Muslim overlords and their system. So when they say, well, they were protected, they were defended under the system. Yeah, they were, so long as they obeyed every single one of the regulations and never missed a payment. But if they slipped in any one of those things, not just the person who disobeyed the order, but the entire community could be held liable, and there were pogroms and massacres and executions and exiles as a result. So that's what being a dhimmi, or a people of the dhimmi people means. So Dar al-Islam, the House of Islam, being the Muslim-ruled, the Sharia-ruled parts of the world, beginning to swallow Dar al-Harb, the house of the enemy, house of warfare, meaning Europe and the West. And the way that is happening is that we are modifying our behavior to come into compliance, to submit to appease Islam by reason of the terror that's been instilled in us. Now remember that diagram we had up here before about Jihad, and that it was Al-Qaeda coming at us, which indeed it is. This is how I would conceptualize Jihad. Yes, you've got Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda up here. Along with him, you can name Hezbollah, Hamas, Lashkar-e-Toiba, Taliban, and others. But there are other threats coming at us. And they include Sharia law, the Muslim Brotherhood, which promotes Sharia law, and the stealth jihad, the method by which they insinuate this into our societies. So let's begin this with some concepts about Sharia and what Sharia actually stands for, what it means. Now, quoting from the Quran, we see here that it is an ideology of supremacism, that it is an ideology that says Islam is supreme and all other religions or faiths on earth are less than Islam. Non-Muslims are the most vile of created beings. That's what the Quran says. Or, be merciful to one another, you Muslims, but ruthless to the unbelievers. And then we have one of the top Muslim brothers in the United States. This is Omar Ahmed here. And he is a co-founder and a board chairman, former board chairman of CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations, about which we'll talk a little bit later, a Muslim Brotherhood front in the United States. And here's what he says: America isn't in Islam to be equal to any other faith, but to become dominant. The Quran should be the highest authority in America, and Islam the only accepted religion on earth. So they're quite open about their objectives and beliefs. It's not like they're hiding this stuff. It's on the internet, it's in interviews, it's written, it's spoken. We should know this.